Good afternoon. It is relentless here at the Crucible on this semi-final Saturday. We've already been engrossed in 3 hours worth of action from 10 o'clock this morning in these marathon 4-part best of 33 frames semi-finals. And indeed, the third session was indeed a moving session for Judd Trump, the Masters champion, against the gallant Geordie qualifier Gary Wilson, who's only the 22nd qualifier in history to make it to this stage here in Sheffield. Now, Trump took some significant strides, perhaps towards a second Crucible final for him, because at 9-7 ahead when they resumed this morning, that became 11-8, and the 29-year-old bidding to open up a 4-frame lead now in frame 20. Trump leading by 2 points, all watched by Alan McManus and Dennis Taylor.
Mid-session interval coming up after this frame. If he gets it, he wins a little mini-session 3-1. That's what your plan normally is.
Been few and far between chances like this morning. This is where you want them. Top break of just 34 this morning by either player. It was by Judd.
9.
He'll be horrified if he doesn't make at least 40 or 50 from here. You have to say it's a good chance to win the frame. This is where he's been excelling his whole life, but in terms of his cue ball, much tighter.
16.
And he slips into gear so well after these exchanges of safety.
17.
Just finds his game, finds his cadence round the table, getting busy now.
Yeah, they've been scrappy frames. This is the first
24.
real chance in amongst them around the black spot area.
25.
You never know how the frames are going to pan out, but this is what both players would
32.
want, to be in amongst them like this.
33.
See there how close he gets to the red.
40.
So important. Make this almost unmissable.
41.
Once again, cue ball and point. Looking good here.
$48. 49.
He doesn't have to bother with that red that's tied up with the pink. He'll pot enough to secure the frame, and then he'll think about the possibility
56.
of finishing this session with a century. And if he does,
57.
it will beat the all-time record of 86 6 centuries made back in 2015, 2016. Now play for the blue, and then
64.
he's got the couple of reds up next to the brown, so this secures the frame. Now can he go on and beat that all-time record of century breaks?
70.
There's been a sweet sophistication about the way he's taken these. This has been top drawer after what's gone this morning.
Thank you.
Gone before. Can he put the finishing
71.
touches to it? And he will be desperate to give the patrons a nice century.
$73.
Hammered that in to regain position. Had to force it. He's made 6 centuries so far in this year's Betfred World Championship. But look at his total, career total, 608. 75 he's made this season. That's why he's won
79.
3 ranking events.
$80.
Got an angle to screw back off the yellow.
$82. 83.
Judd Trump at his best here.
87. 89. $92. $96.
And here goes the record of Crucible centuries. That's 87 centuries. Turn up all over the Crucible.
107.
And the crowd have continued applauding as he pots the black and hammers it in. What a way to finish his session from Judd Trump.
114.
He goes off to the mid-session interval with a 4-frame advantage. 12 frames to 8.
Yeah, Judd's 7th century here this year, 87th of the championship, and that is a record-breaking ton, beating the most ever recorded in one championship here at the Crucible. I reckon there'll be a few more to come by Monday evening, but our Geordie qualifier refused to bow down, winning 2 of the next 3 to trail by 10 frames to 13. So a vital last frame in this session now, and it's Wallsends Wilson behind by 22 points.
Very good at what they do. They make something that's quite complicated.
Thank you.
What a difficult
1.
shot he's faced with here to try and bring a red into play.
Yeah, the green's the shot, isn't it? The green's the one that gives him a better chance.
Well, hang on. That'll do. He maybe had that in the back of his mind. Played to move the red near the middle pocket, but he knew he was heading towards the black and red. The was like 2 shots in one he played there. Wow, just dropped the red in.
Gary Wilson 4.
It's fluke to Snooker, but I thought he'd just drop it in and maybe roll the black into the other corner. Do you know, Alan, I think he was trying to pot that red and move the difficult red, which was very ambitious, wasn't it?
Yeah, whenever you play a cannon, you just tend to take your eye off the pot.
Not the best, as Gary wraps the table with his knuckles. Under hit that by quite a way. And believe it or not, Judd was trying to find the gap there and come up and move the difficult last red.
Yeah, played for the double. Good thinking that. The scoreboard dictated that the double was the correct shot there.
4.
Minimal risk attached to this, and you half fancy him to get it. And every chance of landing on the black, which would be enough. Superb piece of thinking that by Judd Trump. Fantastic.
So Gary's attempt to get in behind the blue coming up short, proving very costly. If the black goes in, that is. The difference with just 27 remaining.
12.
Just the one Snooker needed. Well, he is in a snooker, and barring a snooker, it's Judd Trump who opens up a 4-frame advantage at 14-10.
Yes, and they did play on for another 15 minutes or so, and in total that final frame took just under 45 minutes. But Trump heading for the dressing room with a much more comfortable 4-frame cushion. He needs just 3 more tonight to become our first man into the final. And 1997 world champion Ken Doherty has played in 3 finals in total. Judd Trump surely with 1 foot in his second.
Well, you would think so. I mean, tall order for Gary Wilson. He's got to win, what, 7 out of the 9 frames in this evening's session. Very, very difficult. But you just never know. I mean, those first couple of frames tonight are going to be so important for Gary Wilson. He was very disappointing this morning, didn't play his game. Looked a little bit edgy and nervous, but that's understandable. Look, he's had a great run so far. It's not over. He's going to give it his all tonight. But it looks like Judd Trump is just going to get over the line.
How much do you think Judd Trump's still got in reserve? OK, he's played brilliantly in bursts, 6 frames, 4-frame bursts. But he hasn't been able to sustain that level of scoring the whole way through.
No, I mean, those 6 frames against Ding Junhui and the first 5 frames, 6 frames against Steve McWhirr was probably his best that he's played in this tournament. No, he hasn't. He looked a little bit edgy. I think it's just this semi-final is so difficult because you know the players wanted so much. I mean, and Judd Trump is probably thinking to himself, this is probably the best chance I have so far to win this World Championship. OK, he's been to a final before and John Higgins beat him, but the way he's been playing and the season, the way he's played against Ronnie, of course, in the final of the Masters, you would feel this is his best chance. So maybe the pressure was getting to him because he wants it so much, and that's understandable.
You never know. Gary Wilson has certainly created a few surprises already,
fantastic.
so don't rule out this qualifier playing in his 7th match here in Sheffield. But this afternoon, my goodness, have we got a match for you, because it's another master against underdog story, because John Higgins, the 4-time champion, has got a lot of work to do if he's to stride on into his 3rd consecutive final here at the Crucible, because he's up against a 37-year-old late bloomer in Dave Gilbert, who's only 4 frames away from his first Crucible final after a fraught Friday night session that really did have it all.
Right in the heart of the pocket. Superb.
He couldn't have played it any better. Here it comes. Here it comes. Unbelievable. You can't leave this man any sort of double. This is a straightforward green. The pressures of the Crucible Theatre.
David Gilbert, 24.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He just won't go away. The Wizard of Wishaw is starting to wear that magic wand.
1-4-3 tournament high break. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful shot. That is awesome. That's the best shot he's played in this match.
What a fabulous comeback there, it has to be said, from John Higgins. And he closes the gap to 13-11.
Well, for John Higgins, this is business as normal, but for David Gilbert, this is the biggest snookering session of his career, Steve.
Yeah, but he's only got to win 4 frames. I mean, like, and if he wins the first frame, he's only got to win 3.
Oh, come on, this is the World Championship semi-final.
I know. This will be the most severe pressure he's ever been under in his career. This is snooker's equivalent of climbing the north face of the Eiger for him.
Yeah, in flip-flops.
Yeah, but he's done with it. Yeah, 13-11. You can't ask for much better than
Well,
that.
he'd have taken that, wouldn't he? He'd have snapped your hand off. But if there's 1 or 2 players on the circuit I wouldn't want to see in the rearview mirror, John Higgins is definitely one of those.
No, he's a past master. He's a great champion. Arguably the best match player we've ever seen in our career. And this is his office here at the Crucible Theatre. And even if he's not 100% on form, he can still make it very difficult for his opponent.
But how's he done it? How's he clawed it? I mean, he was on fumes in the early sessions.
Second session, he was awful. He really was. I think he was embarrassed to be out there, but somehow he seemed to have dragged himself off the floor. And to make the boxing analogy as well as a climbing one, OK, a great champion can be knocked down earlier in a fight, but somehow gets back up and ends up turning it around.
It should be a fascinating session. Well, you're off to the commentary box, I'm over the bubble, and in the immortal words of Rob Walker, let's get the boys on the bays.
I can't believe he's nicked my line. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This famous old arena is made for moments like this. It's a straight 9-frame shootout for a place in the Betfred World Snooker Championship final. One of the 2 men waiting at the top of the stairs is destined to bow out head held high. The other will be 1 match away from glory. Live sport does not get any better than this. Please welcome a player who has been magnificent in this maiden semi-final. Despite dropping off tour briefly a few years ago, he never lost the belief that he belonged at this level. After so many years of working so hard, it is superb to see this humble man delivering on the biggest stage of all. The Tamworth Massive are ready to roar once more for a man who's anything but faithless, Dave Gilbert. opponent, a Crucible veteran whose talent is matched only by his longevity, bidding for an incredible 8th Crucible final 21 years after his first. Mentally, he is absolute granite, and he is right back in this match. 4 times a champion of the world, the pride of Scotland, the Wizard of Wishaw, John Higgins.
I think it's honours even as to the quality of the walk-on music for these fellas. But John Virgil, Steve Davis in the commentary box this afternoon after a truly extraordinary session last night. I wonder who is feeling the heat more right now, John or Dave?
Well, I think the heat's on whichever champion Hazel.
David, give it a break.
Final session, everything to play for. Dave Gilbert gets it in underway and anxiously looks to see if he's covered the pot to the left corner. He has. But there is one available to the right corner, but that's fraught with danger, particularly with the black and the red just above it. Average shot time there. Just slightly in favour of Dave Gilbert. Highest break, well, the 143 from John Higgins, the highest of the tournament so far. Be a little bit disappointed in that break off, or that safety shot that he caught the green. Every mistake in this final session is going to be magnified. Now we're getting near the end of the semi-final. Of course, place in the final for this young man would be, well, his dream come true. I think he can get through to this red, to the left corner. He can. But the black's not available. Well, turning it down. Needs to get a good cue ball though. Needs to get that cue ball tight to the ball cushion. And he hasn't. And there's the Higgins family, wife Denise and the children. And I saw John's mother today, and well, John puts them through it. I said to her, well, try and enjoy it. She said, it's very hard to do that. Been very impressive, Steve, the way that John Higgins has fought his way back into this match, particularly after the early frames of the third session when he looked to be not cueing well at all. But that's a good solid pot. That was the red that Dave Gilbert refused, and John has landed perfect on the blue.
What a fantastic shot. Yeah, John, he's got resolve, hasn't he? He knows just because he's been playing badly in a match that it's not going to turn around. You've got to be optimistic as a champion. Forget what's happened beforehand.
7.
Just about got the angle on the blue that was required. I mean, the red just above the black. Well, he hasn't. He's straight. That's why he's playing the pink, which won't be bad because it'll leave him on that red just above the black. Just didn't hold it.
Yeah, it wasn't in the centre of the pocket, and that cue ball's run on
13.
a little bit more than he wanted. Can stun up for the pink again.
$14.
Perhaps that gap was too tight. So the same shot now on the blue. Get back for those 2 reds. Assuming the black goes into the left corner.
Yeah, that was exactly my thoughts. I don't think it is. Still got the pink, blue and bought colours to play with, but I don't. Well, it certainly won't go to the right corner, and as you see, it doesn't look as though it goes to this corner either.
He's obviously got the pink to work with.
Well, it's not straightforward. That's why he's giving it plenty of thought. And as you can see, he's straight on this red. He's trying to force it up. Can he play the deep screw and avoid the kiss on the second red?
20.
Played for the pink. It called for a delicate screw. He's just overscrewed it slightly.
John Higgins, 20.
It looked in and it just seemed to drift to that near jaw. There's not a lot of nap on these cloths, but it was enough.
Well, he got himself in a bit of a trap positionally there. There was other ways of going about that.
One.
What a chance this is for Dave Gilbert. And it'll give us some sort of sign as to how he's feeling. Okay, we know the blacks are not available, but the pink spot is nicely in the clear.
7.
This is a good chance.
Thank you. 8.
And there's the Gilbert family. Abby on the right, and wife, and twin sister on the left.
$14. $15.
Well, decided to play for the pink to the middle. If he's straightish on it, no problem. Just screw back a few inches for either of those 2 reds to the left corner.
$21. $22.
After this red that's just below the pink, which you play for now, it gets a little bit more tricky. This is where good cue ball control is required. 8 points the lead.
28.
Looking for another 36 points from this position. And as he's not going to be taking
29.
blacks, that means minimum of 5 reds, you would have thought, still needed.
Temptation could have been to have tried to get the black into open play by potting that red to the left corner. But that red isn't that easy, especially if you're trying to force it. A little bit out of position here as well. You may have to play a very soft screw to hold for the pink in the middle. Even that's too much of an angle, perhaps.
Yeah, it's amazing how it can slip away on these superfine cloths if you just overhit a fraction.
He's held that very well. He's got his nose in front. Now it gets more problematic, and you can see where he's intending to be on this red.
Yeah, I think what makes this red more difficult is the 2 reds near the left-hand side cushion. If you could play it a run through and come off the side cushion up for the blue, but he's going to have to stun this red in to avoid those 2 reds.
Just making his mind up whether he wants to play one of the reds down the rail or risk the cut.
He's played for this red. This could be the key shot to this opening frame. And as I say, he just can't roll it in, he's got to stun it in. Just makes the pot a little bit more difficult. Wow, maiden light of it. Okay, took the cue ball up, but as long as it stops short of the vault line, which it has, nicely on the brown.
Probably better going down for the baulk colours than trying to get perfect on the blue. You see that flick of the bridge when he plays a shot, just sort of a finesse-y type of
47.
thing. It's after he hits the ball. It would be dangerous if it was during.
Yeah, watching that little flick of the bridge, it reminds you of Alex Higgins in a way, doesn't it? But as you say, it's all right as if you do it after you've delivered the cue.
55.
He's going to need one of those 2 reds on the side cushion. It's been excellent
56.
so far. He looks to have the perfect angle to drop in behind them.
This pink will put him 42 points in front with 43 remaining. So just this red needed. He'll be playing it with the rest.
62.
This would be a fantastic frame for Dave Gilbert to win. Especially after John Higgins was in first.
I said when he came to the table,
63.
this would give us an idea of how he's feeling. And it has to be said, he's taken these with aplomb. He's never really looked in any trouble. He's had an air of inevitability about it.
70.
And he'd love to start this session with a century. And no reason why he won't now. Just one good positional shot from black to yellow. Pretty good.
78.
I think what's just as impressive here, Steve, and I always look for it, when you're hitting the ball right in the middle of the pocket, it's a very good sign, isn't it?
Yeah, he looks in control. When he would be forgiven for having a little bit of tension in that arm.
87.
Striking the ball very smoothly.
$92.
Pink and black for the century.
$98.
Absolutely wonderful from Dave Gilbert. John Higgins was in first. 10 up. But he missed a tricky little pink into the middle. We wondered how he'd react. There's your answer. A wonderful break of 105. He now leads by 14 frames to 11.
Yeah, the 16th seed really has set off with great aplomb, and it did look that John Higgins was the man who set off with such intent. Beautiful opening red, and then the pink goes on.
Yeah, missed pink, and I mean, John Higgins needs a fast start, and he's just sort of got himself in a little bit of a muddle here. He eventually has this pink here, but it's a pink. I mean, it's not a difficult pink. Okay, he's gone into a blind pocket, but what we saw there, the pink is like falling to the near jaw. It's been sort of customary fall throughout these championships. And normally that doesn't happen on the circuit. You normally, when you hit it to the middle pockets, because these cloths are cut so fine, there's never any nap on it. But in this World Championship, I've noticed quite a bit that the ball has fallen to the nap. And John didn't allow for the nap and subsequently missed it. But you can't take away from that break of Dave Gilbert. Absolutely sublime.
And he started to answer, Dave Gilbert, a few questions that have been circulating around about his temperament towards the latter part of matches. We've seen it in two big finals already this season. He's had big leads, he's let them slip, but he looks very much in composed form here.
He does indeed, and who knows whether those experiences are now making him a stronger person for it. He's been there a couple of times, 7-5 up, lost 9-7, 9-5 up, lost 10-9. Might make him stronger just having those experiences.
Might do indeed.
Thank you, frame 26.
He's 3 away.
John Higgins to pink.
John Higgins gets the second frame underway. Don't forget this match, best of 33. The target to get you in the final is 17 frames. And the good start that John Higgins was looking for in the last came to an abrupt halt when he missed the pink in the middle. Now then, there is a red on the left-hand side of the table. You pot it, you'd be on the black. But if you miss it, what do you leave? And that's what John's looking at.
One.
Wonderful shot. Fully committed. Now in the last frame when he got the first chance, the black was unavailable into both corners. As we watch this pot again and just, as I say, fully committed, just stroked it in. Wonderful shot. And this a lot better chance than the one in the first frame with the black available into both corners. Just got to keep good control of that cue ball.
9.
Kiss on the yellow. It's okay, because he's got a nice angle on the brown. But he needs good control of that cue ball. I want to be running into balls unintentionally. He's overhit this. Is he going to stop? Looking at his face, a little shake of the head, but he's okay.
$14.
A little bit thinner on this blue than he intended, so eyeing up the cannon into the pink. He doesn't have to hit this too hard. If he hits the pink full in the face, it will hold the cue ball in the middle of the table. And he thought, if I'm in the middle of the table, then I'll have a red to the left middle, worse way. Couldn't have hit it better. That is the perfect strike on the pink.
Would have been expecting more of a split of reds. It's well controlled.
20.
He's okay. He's okay. For a moment, it looked as though
25.
he may be on nothing, but he's got the red to the left corner, and I think there's just a gap as we watch it again. He was looking for the one to the right corner. That wasn't going to be available, but this is. Trying to find the gap in between the red and the black, and flicking the red has taken him further from the black and closer to the cushion than he would like.
Yeah, that was a misjudgment. Just about got away with a kick.
$33.
Yeah, if it had gone normal, he'd have had a easy red to the right middle. Now, pressure pot to the far right corner.
$34.
Right in the heart of the pocket. Bit close to the cushion. Can't hold for the red in open place, so you'd think he'd have to run round off the side cushion, got to avoid the kiss on the pink and play for this red to the right corner. He's got to judge this well.
$39.
Pretty fast bounces off the cushion there to get behind the black. He was probably thinking that the line he would take would kiss the black full ball, so he'd always be on the red. He was a fraction out in judgment. I don't think he can part this. He's trying to contain it. Side cushion. Or he could just get to it. but still trying to contain the situation. He's let the cue ball come
Higgins,
well back up the
39.
table. He could have gone side cushion, hit that foot in the face and gone up. Missed a bit of a trick there, I think.
Yeah, surprising choice. The one thing he wanted to avoid was the cue ball coming back to this end of the table.
Why didn't he go side cushion first, hit the red full in the face?
Don't know.
Perhaps he thought he could get more of it than he actually did. Not an easy shot for Dave Gilbert, though.
No, and he's straight on this red. And to hold for the black, he's going to have to be digging down. He tried to force an angle. Digging down, I know it makes the pot more difficult, but trying to pinch a bit on these pockets, you're asking for trouble.
One.
So John Higgins will be very relieved to be back at the table. And that safety mistake cost him nothing.
Yeah, it's funny how sometimes a poor safety can force your opponent into a shot they don't like.
That's okay. He's got a 47-point lead. Nicely on a red to the middle. And all the reds he needs, and nicely in the open.
Nine.
No more cannons required. That cluster of 4 just above the black. The bottom one, the one closest to the black, will definitely go to the left corner. That's after this red and the next black.
14.
It's hard to see where it could go wrong here. Well, he's screwing back for the blue.
15.
But judged it well, and now he'll have to play for that red just above the black. And he's under-hit it. Is he another one that goes? Must be.
20. $21.
Yeah, no problem. So 67 point the leads now with 67 remaining, so just this red.
28.
And it'll be snookers required.
$29.
Needed 2 chances, it has to be said. But unlike the first frame, he got the 2 chances.
$36. $37. $42. $43.
With a wry smile there from Johnny. He just seemed to have had trouble with, particularly with the top cushion, in his previous match as well, thinking he's got bounces.
49.
He plays with a very gritty type of chalk. Any chalk dust that's on the cue ball that gets in between cue ball and cushion or object ball will be more
52.
of a grip.
Well, not there, but he'll be relieved to get that frame on the board. Dave Gilbert tried to pinch a pot, but what is obvious that both players seem to have settled in nicely. This is a lot quick fire than I expected. We're in for a bit of a match here. Still 14-12, Dave Gilbert.
Sure are. This is John's 10th Crucible semi-final. He's only ever lost 2, both times to a certain Mark Williams, but that was in '99 and 2000. His record here is incredible. And yet this is the man, guys, that last night was all over the place. No confidence, very little form, and still came out of the session winning it 5-3. How does he do it?
Because he's a master at match play. He never gives up. He's a great champion, and he's so tough to beat because he knows every shot on the table and plays a high percentage of every department as well. And when you're up against that, and even if he's not playing at his A game, his B game or sometimes the C game is good enough, and it's got him through a lot of matches until he gets going. He still is not at his best in this match, in this tournament, and he's in the semi-final and he still has a chance.
Well, you say this match, this tournament, this season actually has been one of his poorest seasons. So what percentage would you think he's operating at now? In terms of his capabilities, John?
60 or 70 maybe,
Right.
not much more than that, but he's such a competitive instinct to keep in there. There's no doubt in my mind the 2 matches prior to these have put a little bit of a puncture in him. I think certainly the Neil Robertson has. That was a masterclass of stopping, for me, the best player currently in the world playing, Neil Robertson, of stopping him playing. I mean, he just basically didn't let him see the balls he wanted to see, but he had to work so hard to win that match. I don't think it's done him any favours. I think that's why he's been sort of a bit low on the concentration stakes in this match. But listen, you never ever count him out because he is made of Scottish girders.
I can't top that. Back with you.
Scottish girders. Okay. He's made of something, I'll tell you what it is. The one great asset I've always thought with John Higgins, he hates losing. And that is a great motivation.
Very good signs from John Higgins' perspective that his cue action seems a lot straighter today. Knocking in those long ones are confidence builders.
They didn't hold back there. And with the pink being separated from the reds, that was an adventurous shot to play. It looks, as he looked away in disgust, that he may just have found a red that goes to the left middle. Not much to do with the cue ball for position. Good shot.
7.
Now, his big problem here, when he pots the black, where does it go? Nice parting. I don't think the black spot is completely available, but what he's got to do is try and get as close as he can.
Thank you.
Without
14.
it touching the red. No, the spot's available, obviously.
Yeah, the spots are drawn on with a sort of paint pen. And of course, they do mess up
15.
the nap a little bit, sort of mat it up a bit. Sometimes the balls rock back on their spot. Oh, well, that's helped a little bit. Black still doesn't go, but if he can
20.
get that red away from the black, it would be. A few more shots to the blue, perhaps. Got to say, though, John, he looks to be focused here, John Higgins.
He does. And after the
21.
disappointment of losing that first frame, he did really well in the last. Okay, as I say, he didn't win it in one visit. But, well, if Dave Gilbert didn't know it, he knows it now. This man isn't going to lie down.
26.
Largely written off for this year's
27.
World Championship, due mainly to the form line of the season, but he got in the final last year.
And the year before. His record here is second to none. Just can't find position on the blue where he can play for that red.
32.
That's close to black. If he could get on that red, he'd bring the black into play. That's what he'll be thinking. 32 points to lead.
Leaving the blue alone this time, didn't have the right angle to guarantee getting close and perfectly on it.
$36.
Just stopped in time. Another couple of rolls, he'd have been on nothing.
$37.
Thinner on the blue than he would like. All these little fractions out can catch up with you.
Might be able to play a cannon on the pink here. Oh, did he get a kick? Did he just miss it?
John Higgins, 37.
Yeah, he wasn't inch perfect on the blue. Well, he didn't look happy. It's hard to tell from that. Did we see a little bounce? Well, yeah, it just seemed to slide before it went its natural path, and Dave Gilbert has had the cue ball cleaned.
Yeah, I think the white ball went thick as well. I think the correct line for the cue ball, had he potted the blue in the middle pocket directly in the centre, would have been to have collided with the pink. But it destroyed the positional part of the shot as well, so not an easy one for Dave Gilbert.
Well, it was a good shot, but that kiss off the red on the side cushion has made it an even better one.
He's got a really tough cut, not the cut itself, but to try and control the cue ball, to guarantee being on a red. The one to the right corner closest is probably the one you'd hope to get on. Oh, there's that gap he got through. He was hoping for some sort of collision there with anything, really. Now a horrible red into the left corner. Black doesn't go. Not even sure he's going to be taking this on.
I was just thinking about that shot, Steve, when he played the cut. If you'd have said to him, cannon a red, he'd have done it no problem. But as you say, he was trusting a little bit to luck and just thinking, well, the natural angle was going to get me there.
He could have got in firmer, possibly.
I made certain he cannoned a red.
This is tough.
Lots of shots he's played there. The more and more I see of Dave Gilbert, the more impressed I become.
That's another fantastic shot he's just played there. Guaranteed to be on the red the way he played it. He's still got the problem of the red by the black, which is made a little bit more difficult to get on by the red to the right of the black. So once again, trying to get up for the blue. He hasn't hit this hard enough, but just enough to get
11.
Straightish on the blue. He's got the pink as well. There's a little bit of a problem here, isn't there? To get on the red so that you can then get back on a colour to get on that red by the black. That's his thought process.
Yeah, if he finishes high on the red, the obvious red to play on, he's got to avoid the reds near the top cushion. So he'd like to get as straight as he can on it. Well, he feels as though he can play for the red above the black.
Well, that was wonderful. It was a bit risky.
17.
He didn't have that much room to work with. He couldn't have placed it better. Oh, what did he do there?
18.
He just quit on it.
I was just going to say the same. He quit, screw back to cannon the other red.
Screw back, cannon the red away. He just totally quit on the shot.
Well, he's got himself within 19 points of John Higgins' lead, but this black is potable, but it'd be such a hard shot to get back down the table for the red. It's risky, and if he missed it and got on the red, surely he'd lose the frame.
There's always the temptation to try and keep the break going, but he's resisted that and he's played a good safety.
18.
Yeah, there you see, there's just the edge of the red sticking out. If you go past the blue, what he's concerned about is if he plays this red, could knock one over the right corner. So he's just trying to contain the situation by dropping dead weight on this one. Doesn't want to run by it or run across it. Judged it well.
Can he see it?
There's your answer. No. It's always difficult, that shot, because the cue ball's coming back at your hand and you've got to get your hand out of the way so quickly. He'll be disappointed. He's handed the initiative now to John. Expect John to play a better safety shot than that. Top draw, a little tap on the tail from John. So nice to see, even in the heat of battle, when this match means so much to both players, and still take time out to congratulate your opponent on a good shot. Doesn't happen in many sports.
It was a good shot as well. He could have been forgiven for just playing a thinner safety shot and keeping the reds in the middle of the table, but he played a more aggressive one there. As you can see, that red has poked its nose out into the left corner, but he's hidden it behind the yellow. So a problem for John Higgins that maybe he didn't think he'd be getting.
Yeah, the only way he can play this, he's got to get that cue ball tight to the baulk cushion to make the red on the left-hand side of the table difficult. He caught the red too thick. So there's a chance here for Dave. It's not without its risk.
It's a poor safety, but one that could once again prove dividends. All depends on whether Dave Gilbert gets this red or not. Just intimating Dave that his elbow didn't go through correctly.
One.
Nicely played, and he had the natural angling potting it to Cannon, the other one to hold perfectly for the blue. Frame at his mercy.
6.
It's a funny game, isn't it, John, where you benefit from playing a relatively poor safety and it works out in your favour.
Seven.
He's looking at the black, but you'd think the pink would be the better ball, because when the black's respotted, he'll make this red maybe a bit more difficult to get on. But the black's unmissable, and that's why I think he's choosing the black. Just got to be careful, though.
Yeah, also, John, getting the black on the spot makes the last red easier.
Yeah, but he
14.
doesn't really need the last red. This red and the black would put him 41 points in front, with just 35 remaining.
I feel like these days you need even more points to get over the line.
Well, yes, because you know the frame could go on another 15, 20 minutes if your opponent only needs one snooker. This blue goes 39 in front with 35 remaining. In it goes. So, Dave Gilbert
20.
needs one 4-point snooker to tie. John won't be potting this red.
John Higgins, 20.
Nearly got one back, but not quite, I don't think. Caught this a bit too thick. Is the pink going to come to his rescue? It certainly has. That was not as played.
Shouldn't be difficult to hit.
The only thing, I think we were discussing it the other day, when you get that one snooker, okay, as you say, easy to hit, but John Higgins had no idea where the red was going to go, so it could leave him in a position where it's easier to get a snooker this time around. Not quite. Not quite. I'm right behind the line of the shot, and there's just a little bit of this red sticking out. There you see it. Where's the cue ball going?
Foul.
Oh, would you believe
Gilbert,
it?
4.
Dave Gilbert can now tie. 35 points behind, 35 remaining. Easy safety shot. Red twice across. Remember, to tie, he'll need a black off this red if he gets the opportunity. Good safety. There's a gap in between the yellow and pink. But now all of a sudden this frame very much alive.
Looks to be a snooker. Don't necessarily think Dave Gilbert can go off the back cushion and control the cue ball. He's going to have to swerve it quite a lot. He wants to catch this red full ball if he can. Good shot. Trusting a bit to luck where the red went, but he'd be pleased with that.
Well, will John Higgins be tempted to take this on? I suppose he's got an easy safety. Just got to be careful he doesn't knock this red over the opposite corner. Well, purposely playing it thin, so he'd hopefully run into the black, and he's judged it well.
No prizes for guessing what's on Dave Gilbert's mind now. That wasn't that great. He should have been driving the red to the middle of the baulk cushion. Got a bit too much side spin on.
I see no reason, because it will be frame ball, for John Higgins not to take this on. Just going round, having a look at the potting angle. Just go all out for the pot. If it goes in, you've won the frame. As you say, Steve, for Dave Gilbert to leave him a chance of a pot was wrong. But Higgins happy, Higgins family happy, and so will John be.
8.
Hampered by the blue, it doesn't matter. I don't think Dave Gilbert will be carrying on. Should John pot this yellow or not? 43 behind, 27 remaining. Definitely not now. What a good shot with the spider.
10.
And John just trickling off the green. That will be enough.
10.
So he will not go away, will John Higgins? The disappointment of the first frame of this session put behind him. He goes back to his dressing room. He's now just one frame behind. 14-13, Dave Gilbert. And it's a strange thing, in John Higgins' match against Neil Robertson, he was complaining about bounces, and Neil Robertson was saying, well, I don't get bounces with the chalk I'm using. And just explain, Steve, if we can, about this chalk.
Well, there's a new chalk out on the block, excuse the pun.
Yeah.
John's playing with the old style chalk and a version of it that's even grittier. The idea of the grit on the leather means that it gives you ultimate grip on the ball. So, and you can see the chalk dust goes on the table quite a lot. There's quite gritty stuff. There's a new chalk out that's less gritty, it's a bit smoother, still gives grip. There is the occasional miscue that tends to sort of, it slips off because the chalk doesn't grip the ball as much, doesn't stick to the tip as well. And it seems to be, judging by everybody's reaction around the circuit, that the new chalk's less kicks, but you know, you trade off a few more miscues for far less kicks and far less cushion bounces, and that seems to be the way. So players are split. Some players are playing with the old style chalk and some are playing with the new chalk.
Yeah, and I think what also has been suggested is, and we could see it was like a little puff of dust that gets on the cue ball, and if that little bit of dust on the cue ball, when it hits the cushion, and that is between a little bit of chalk and the cushion, it's causing that extra little bit of bounce. It's not hitting it as normal, if you like. There's friction there.
That's right. And effectively, the chalk that the players use is not like blackboard chalk. It's more like grit. But it's just the level of grit.
Thank you. Frame 28. John Higgins to break.
Mid-session interval after this, and then after that mid-session interval there'll be no more intervals. They will come out and play this match to a finish. Now, can John Higgins make it all square and give Dave Gilbert a lot to think about before that final session for a place in the final?
1.
Well, you couldn't hit a ball sweeter than that. Didn't try to do too much with a cue ball. Didn't try to screw back to the balk end. And what a beautiful strike it was. Trying to get into them. He's caught the loose reds. Oh, he needs a bit of luck, and he's had some there. When he hit the loose red, I thought he may be on nothing.
6.
But the red closest to the cue ball will pot. Here we are. Just didn't get enough side on it. So you think he's missing the main bunch, but hit that red, went into the bottom red, hit the black, hit the red. And as I say, it's just landed on this one. Needs to miss the yellow. Didn't. Where's the cue ball going?
Foul.
Oh, would you believe it?
David Gilbert, 6. John Higgins, 4.
And as I said, now we get into the nitty-gritty of this match. Every mistake, every little bad run will be magnified. So unlucky to kiss the yellow and going off.
One.
Couple of loose reds, but he's absolutely perfect on the blue. And the way he's been playing this session, he's not frightened to play the cannon early on. Straight into the pink he needs to go. Couldn't have played it better. Could not have played that any better. There's a red appeared from nowhere.
6.
He looked to be perfect on a red to the left corner, and then a red came up. But he's okay.
That looks pretty tight.
Hit the pink perfectly.
Yeah. He can put a bit of right-hand spin on, straighten the shot up if he so wishes, but he'd rather get it direct, plain ball.
7.
No hesitation, playing for the black. But you've got to cue these well.
Yeah.
So this session, this important session at the moment, 95% pot success, John Higgins, 93% Dave Gilbert. Both excellent percentages.
15.
But will that 2% send John Higgins into the mid-session interval all square?
$21. $22. $29. 30.
Whatever was affecting John Higgins in the early part of this match, that's not the case now. He's fully focused.
$37.
So there you see it, another 25 points needed. He may play a couple of blues, so you could say he's looking for 4 more reds and colours to get to snooker's required.
38.
He won the first 2 frames of this match, and then Dave Gilbert responded really well. Won the next 3. John levelled at 3 apiece. And he's never been levelled since. He's always been playing catch-up. What a time, a vital time to go all square.
$44.
And the whole sessions revolved around 2 weak safeties from John Higgins that Dave Gilbert then had to play that were missable.
They see it, 48 ahead, 75 remaining, 2 reds, 2 colours. We get to snooker's required. Little straight on the pin, but
51.
no problem now. Does he leave the cue ball in the middle of the table? The only problem if he does that, that top red of that cluster of 4, he'll be running into him. So really wants to screw back towards the top cushion to give him plenty of room for manoeuvre. And that's what he's done. He played it perfectly. Red and the black to go 63 points in front with just 59 remaining.
58.
Now you see it.
65.
1 4-point snooker to tie, but as we saw in the last frame, John Higgins would take nothing for granted, but he's nicely on the colour now. I'm sorry, he's nicely on the red. Don't get ahead of yourself. Pot this red now for that extra bit of insurance. Played it beautifully. So that bit of bad luck from Dave Gilbert. And it will swing 66. To and fro. You have luck, you have bad luck, but when he went in off the yellow, well, maybe the red that's tight to the baulk cushion would just squeeze past the 2 just above it.
73.
There you see it.
74.
Nicely played. Just made certain of the red, really. Didn't want the scare that he had in the last frame. Can he get into this black enough to play the cannon on those 2 reds?
Bramble.
He's trying to get the cannon on the 2 reds off the brown. It's immaterial. Dave Gilbert will concede this frame. He's got the cannon, but whether he would if the pot the brown, but that's enough for Dave Gilbert. He gets his bits and pieces together. He's going to go to the dressing room. He started off with a 2-frame advantage. John Higgins wins 3 of the 4 frames. They're now all square with everything to play for. 14-all.
You know, 3 times this man has been 5 frames behind, 3-8, 6-11, 7-12, and he's back on level terms. Did we ever doubt we were going to be in for a cliffhanger
No.
today?
He needed a fast start today. 3 of the first 4, that's what he would have been hoping for. And that's exactly what he's done. I like the way he's gone about it. He's been very aggressive. First chance he's got, he's split the pack. And every time he split the pack, he's absolutely perfect. Like, he's hit it really nice and gone on to make really good breaks from it. But a different, completely look to John Higgins this afternoon.
But it was a bit of misfortune, actually, an in-off from Dave Gilbert with that flick off the yellow that really was a catalyst for that break of 74.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, listen, you know, all these things are magnified when you get to the stage down at the, you know, right at the business end of the semi-final. Here flicks off the yellow, in off course, leaves John the red that's sitting over the middle pocket. But John Higgins, I mean, we said that myself and Steve did the thing at the top of the show then. We said, look, if there's a couple of people you don't want looking behind you, and we said it, and it wasn't for effect. This fella is just granite, and he doesn't go away, and he keeps coming. And where he finds it from, a couple of days before, he looked legless, and all of a sudden, there he is. He looks as good as ever, and he's in there 14 frames all in a match that he's just been, for the most part, outplayed.
Absolutely, and when you look through the history books, and I'm hoping that Dave Gilbert hasn't, there are plenty of precedents for this. You look at 2007 against Stephen Maguire, won the last 4. Against Matthew Stevens, 2001, won the last 3 in the semi-final. He just seems to have that capability of pulling these things off.
And unfortunately, Dave doesn't, because on his record at the moment, he's got a 7-5 ahead, 9-7 down, 9-5 ahead, 10-9 down. So there's a few things that can happen there. It's another day, another tournament, but Dave's really got to dig in this last 3 frames, because John Higgins sure ain't going away.
He sure isn't. OK, well, let's get the alternative angle from Angles McManus. Hi, Alan.
Hi guys, we always talk about the cue ball being the most important ball on the table. This little fella is crucial. First frame this afternoon, there was a case in point. John's got a little red, dragging back for pink. The problem is he's going tight to the pink, so it's so difficult to get it straight. Lands just off straight, so he's got a little blind pink. Now, because these cloths are grease lightning, what it can do is, you know, you can play it softly and it's going to reach, but it starts off in the right half and just dips halfway there. Walks away in disappointment. So the thing about playing that shot, it's quite an unusual shot to have because it's blind, right? So what you've got to do is get back here and start your aiming point. And when you go in, trust it. But because the table's so quick, you can play it slow, as I say. The key then is find the middle of the pocket, because it can drift up the way or down. These are unpredictable, these tables and cloths. So let's have a little go at it. Go in, trust what you're seeing, and deliver it. I've somehow knocked it in, I don't know why. But 14 all out there, it's getting hot. We're in the practice room, and my chills are multiplying. I don't know about yours.
Well, I couldn't possibly comment, Alan, but there we go. I think there's a career in coaching for Al McManus one of these days, and coaches have become a really, really important commodity in snooker, as they always have been. You've got the likes of Dave Gilbert, who is coached by Steve Feeney from Sight Right, and of course he's responsible for the revival and fortunes of last year's world champion Mark Williams. He also has Ronnie O'Sullivan under his wing, who's just become world #1 again after almost 10 years. But it's science that's applied in Steve Feeney's case, it's psychology that's applied in other cases. And Radzi has been exploring the world of coaching in snooker. I wonder if it's actually contributing to a higher break in his case.
Snooker is the ultimate precision sport. It's a still ball game that requires not only incredible technical skill, but also the ability to perform that skill under intense pressure.
If you're strong technically, you're going to be strong mentally.
It's such a technical sport, and the things that can happen out there, mentally it's so tough to deal with.
In precision sports such as golf, it's become the norm for elite players to pursue performance coaches to try and get that edge, to try and achieve those marginal gains. But how does snooker compare in pursuit of sporting perfection? And is the coach becoming king at the Crucible too?
Stuart Bingham, after 20 years, realised his ambition, and he's the 2015 World Champion.
In recent years, one coach has taken centre stage for the magical trophy lift. Steve Feeney coached Stuart Bingham from a journeyman professional to Crucible champion back in 2015. And last year refocused the natural talents of Welshman Mark Williams to a stunning third world title 15 years since the glory days of his youth. Steve Feeney's sight-right technique has become the talk of snooker in recent years, a technical approach to this ultra-technical game.
My job is to turn players into winners, to help these players play the game to the best of their ability. This is an accuracy game, it's all geometry, a game of straight lines. So how you see straight is very, very important, and then how we use that information when you're trying to see what is traditionally known as angles,
yes,
what we call technically geeky lines of aim, lines of contact. For me, your sight-right sighting line is how both eyes balance together to see a straight line of aim. And then I make sure that you're on that perfect line of aim before you step into that shot. If you understand exactly what you have to do to execute, and that you can trust that it's right, and you can see from the outcome it's right, the answer is there.
As well as coaching Mark Williams to Crucible glory last year, and now working with Ronnie O'Sullivan, Steve has transformed the game of David Gilbert.
I was always stubborn to the idea, tried to do it all on my own, and you know, eventually I had to ask somebody for help because I was just fed up. He's managed to straighten me out, and I understand what he has to say, so I believe in it, you know, so if you believe in something, it'll definitely help you.
Mastering the technical elements of the game is one thing, but implementing those precision skills in the intimate pressure cooker that is the cauldron of the Crucible, well, that's quite another. So how can a coach help perfect the mental demands of the game?
Oh, great shot. Super shot.
Tiny margins all the time. If you believe in something, then it can help you, no matter what it is.
That is just perfection cueing.
But just have someone in your corner who you trust, who you believe what they say, and you know, to help on the mental side of things.
Absolutely pure.
The circuit these days is very tough mentally, and you need to be able to deal with all the sort of the ups and downs.
Terry Griffiths won the title here 40 years ago. He's been here and done it. And for years, he's passed on his experience as a player and knowledge as a coach to many top players.
I know what it's like to play. I know how hard it is to win in the professional game. So when people say, "Oh, you've done well there when you won," I say, no, I didn't pot one ball in the whole match. They understand that I've been exactly where they are, and like when they come into the interval and things are not going so well, you know, they'll hope that I can give them like a few things to talk about. But then other times I've had to slap a few. Just, well, I would do. Come on, get out there and do it and just get them up. I can tell you all the 128 players are very, very good. It's just the difference is all this.
Golf and tennis have both seen big-time coaches dominate the headlines for 30 years or more. So is it time snooker followed the same model?
I think one massively important aspect of it is getting that white and that ball cushion there. Because even if you did leave that, how many times are you going to not let in from the cushion?
Chris Henry works with Sean Murphy and more recently with young amateur sensation James Cahill, who dumped Ronnie O'Sullivan out of this year's first round.
He looked incredibly relaxed. He looked comfortable, and afterwards he said, "I really enjoyed the experience." Some players go out there and are frightened to death. So that was something quite special.
Chris, as well as a snooker coach, you're also a golf coach, which gives you a very individual insight. What do you see as the role of the coach?
In my personal opinion and what I do, it's about working with people and helping them to be their best. These are both very high skill sports. Snooker is incredibly high skill, and in my opinion, it's slightly higher than golf. Golf is such a professional sport. It's high tech. There are swing coaches, there are physical coaches, there are mental coaches, and most players have all of those coaches. In snooker, it's completely different. And there's probably a handful of coaches in snooker working with professional players. I don't understand it, to be quite honest.
It's nice to have good people around you. You're starting to see more of an entourage with each player, if you like.
player who's willing to go outside the boundaries and explore hiring a coach, whether it be mentally or technically, I think is a good move. And I think that's why you've seen such a huge explosion in the standard over the last 5 or 6 years, is because players are willing to actually work on things.
I think it's safe to say that coaches in snooker are increasingly having a bigger part in the sport. And in that pursuit of sporting excellence, sporting perfection, having the right man in your corner to say the right thing at the right time could be the difference of going out in round 1 or being world champion.
Absolutely right, Ramsey. Fascinating, isn't it? And he's right. There has been a real increase in profile of the coaches around snooker in the last few years. What would you have preferred? Would you have preferred the strict scientific rigour of Steve Feeney, or the very interesting psychology of Chris Henry, or even a Terry Griffiths, who's somewhere in between? Where do you think?
I actually think you need a little bit of everything. I think the recipe for people who turn up here and win the trophy and put it in the air is they've got all those departments taken care of. In some departments, obviously, people have it better than others, but you definitely need a smattering of all of them. You can't win here with a terrible temperament and a brilliant cue action. It just doesn't happen. So you've got to have all those things put together, all rolled in the recipe. And so there's bits of that. I mean, if you go and see Steve for the sighting and the rest of it, and then you go and see someone else for the, you're on the right road.
And we've had pure psychology and indeed psychiatry. Dr. Steve Peters has been here with Ronnie O'Sullivan as well. Exactly. So it's a real mixture that he's managed to establish.
It's the sum of all parts, as John said, but I think as well as having a good cue action, I think you have to have it up here, as Terry Griffiths would say, and more importantly, like John Higgins and a lot of other great champions, you have to have it in here. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And you can't coach that. It's either there or it isn't.
It's either there or it isn't.
John Higgins has certainly got that.
Yeah.
All right, we're back to that very shortly, but you know, there is a parallel championship brewing up nicely here at the Crucible, and not in this house of frames actually, but in Richard Osman's.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, gentlemen. The final of this week's House of Frames, and it is super close so far. These four have been battling out all week over a series of faintly ridiculous games. I mean, it's been a ding-dong battle, I would say, all the way through. There's been an awful lot of cheating, but we find ourselves here. Alan, you have 5 points. JV, you have 6. Kyron, 8. Stephen Hendry is our leader with 9 points. We have one final round to play to decide who wins this extraordinary trophy. Look at that. And I know what you're wondering, and the answer is you put it in the blue bin. It's blue bin for recycling. Are we ready?
Yep.
Our final round is Answer Smash. Okay, you'll see some pictures. There'll be clues underneath. Get both of those answers and smash them together, please. Don't forget, as well as the trophy, all sorts of prizes. There's a JV T-shirt. There's all sorts of rubbish. There's a... not that that's rubbish. There's also a Dennis Taylor face mask. Imagine walking out in Sheffield in the evening with a Dennis Taylor face mask and a John Virgo T-shirt. Yeah. And a lovely book of poetry there as well. Fingers on buzzers, gentlemen. Okay. It all comes down to today. It all comes down to these questions. It is very close between the four of you. One of you is going to be the champion. Who is it going to be? Good luck at home. Here's your first question. The pictures will be snooker players, and there'll be clues underneath. Sean Dyche is the manager.
Cliff Thorburn, Burnley.
You have to smash them together. I'm so sorry, Stephen.
Cliff Thorburn.
Cliff Thorburn is the.
What did I say?
You said Cliff Thorburn Burnley. Oh. Cliff Thorburn. Well done if you said that at home. Cliff Thorburn Burnley. Smash them together. That's what you've got. Here's your. Sorry, JV. Here's your next one. What is the title of the German fairy tale in which a gnome-like man spins straw into gold? Yes, Alan.
Judd Trumpelstiltskin. Trumpelstiltskin.
Judd Trumpelstiltskin is the right answer. Very well done and very well said, Judd Trumpelstiltskin. That's really hard to say. Judd Trumpelstiltskin. Well played if you got that. Here's your next player and your next clue. Which comedy sketch show of the early noughties starred Lee Francis in the guise of Avid Marion?
Oh, God.
Stephen.
Liang Wenbo Selector.
Oh, he's a genius. I was going to... So you won 7 world titles, Liang Wenbo Selector. Liang Wenbo. And
I was on Boat Selector once. Don't ever look at it.
Oh, really? But why have you just said that? That's actually every single person.
Oh, I just feel strongly about it.
It's now on YouTube.
Nobody's going to look at it.
I mean, I want to stop the game now. And
I'm looking at that.
Kyron, we'll look at it straight afterwards.
Okay.
Don't you worry about that. Let's get this out of the way. Everyone, just stick with us just for a couple of minutes, and then we'll all go and look at John Virgo on Bow Selector.
No!
Here's your next one. What was the title of the 1985 Top 10 single? Yes, that was Alan.
Jimmy White Wedding.
Jimmy White Wedding. Jimmy White White Wedding. Well played. Nice shot of Jimmy. Next question. Fingers on buzzers, everybody. Which weekly seasonal sports series made its debut in 1978, presented by... Yes, that is Alan.
Jack Lazowski Sunday.
Oh, he's good. Jack Lazowski and Ski Sunday. Jack Lazowski Sunday.
The buzzer not working.
No, he was quicker than me, but I've got to be honest with you, I wouldn't have got it right.
What were you going to say?
Jack Lazowski.
Superstars.
Yeah, something.
Jack Lazowski Superstars.
Still, lovely to have you with us. And
Good to be here.
And also, you've given us all the gift of going to watch you on Bow Selector straight afterwards.
Oh, no.
Next picture and next clue. What is the most popular city in the Canadian province of British Columbia? Alan.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, Vancouver.
Oh, he's good. Ronnie O'Sullivan, Vancouver. Ronnie O'Sullivan, Vancouver.
He's coming up on the rails. Well played, Al. Good answer.
Final question of this week's House of Games, and it is very, very close now on the leaderboard to see who's going to win this. Final question. Buzz in, please, if you know. What are the names of the best friends from Sesame Street who live together? Alan McManus.
Dave Gilbert and Ernie. Gilbert.
Dave Gilbert and Ernie. It is. Well played.
Oh,
Stop it. What a finish.
Unbelievable.
Don't worry about
nowhere.
He was 5 frames down with 6 to play, this guy. Very impressive stuff. Let's see, shall we, what that has done to our leaderboard. Let's see who our House of Frames champion is for the week. In 4th place, a battling 4th place, I would say, John Virgo with 6 points.
5th Auburn Burnley.
5th Auburn Burnley did for you, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
In 3rd place, Kyron Wilson with 8 points. He was an early leader.
Flopped at the end.
So it's one of the plant pots. If you were watching yesterday, that is Neil Foles' nickname. I am not being rude. There's 1 point between the two of you, gents. Just the 1 point. And there's a lot more of that than that at the start of that round. Our champion on House of Frames is, I'll give you a clue, he's Scottish.
He's a plant pot.
He's got 7 world titles. It's Stephen Hendry is our winner. Stephen, congratulations, sir. That, I'm afraid, is yours. I'm so sorry. The good news is you can get that through the metal detector at the airport. It does not set it off. Gentlemen, thank you so much for playing all week. It's been great fun.
Pleasure.
Been a great laugh. Thank you as well at home for watching. Stephen, which prize would you like to choose? JV T-shirt?
Yeah, it has to be. It's got the same hairstyle as me on there.
Stephen Hendry takes home a JV T-shirt as well. What a week it's been for you. Unbelievable.
Stress.
What a week it's been for all of us. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for watching as well on the House of Frames.
McManus on a roll there, wasn't he? OK, back we go. 3 frames required for both John Higgins and Dave Gilbert. The Scot needs them to book a place in an 8th Crucible final and his 3rd in a row. Dave Gilbert needs them to fulfil a lifelong dream of a first. Something's got to give. Back to Steve Davis and John Virgo.
Thank you, Hazel. Is this cue ball going to run? Has it run enough to stop the pot? It has. John Higgins snookered on all reds, and with reds on either side of the table available, this isn't a guaranteed safety. Trying to swerve and send this cue ball up the table, leave the cue ball near the top cushion, caught it much too thin. Where's the cue ball going? Is there a red to the middle? John looks anxiously.
Don't think so. He's not got much pocket to work with.
not touching, otherwise referee Marcel Eckhart would have called it. Possible path to ball, which John is refusing. Touching ball now, possibly.
It's touching ball, this red.
Now, can he avoid hitting the red that he's touching and get the cue ball back to the ball can? If he can't, very much a stalemate here on the cards and a possible re-rack.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, Dave Gilbert glances over to John. John doesn't want this tip tapping. Neither player does at this stage. And, well, is there a better sight in sport than that? Absolutely packed to the rafters. And the atmosphere. If you've never been to the Crucible Theatre, put it on your bucket list, believe me, because you will never witness anything like it. And I think, Steve, that's snooker, really. Theatre.
Yeah, it's a wonderful venue. Great view from wherever. Even right at the back. Still got a great perspective on the table.
Good length of cue ball this time. But it seems if you get a good length of cue ball, you don't block the red that always seems to be available to the corner pocket. But I wouldn't think John would be taking this on, because you wouldn't know where the cue ball was going to finish for position. So just a containing safety.
And we'd like to welcome viewers to the Crucible Theatre here on BBC Two. What a superb semi-final we're enjoying between the four-times world champion John Higgins and 16th seed Dave Gilbert, the final session coming to the boil. And for those viewers watching us on BBC One right now, we would now like to invite you to switch over to BBC Two, where we will be following every ball of this semi-final to its conclusion there.